Welcome to the Purple Political Breakdown. How's it going? How's your day been? Today we're reacting to a whatever podcast clip. Now, I did talk about a little bit about the first part of the whatever podcast with Charlie Kirk, and this is just a clip, so it's 21 minutes, so it's actually digestible for me to react to. So I'm gonna react to it because it involves the wild abortion debate, and I'm gonna give my thoughts based off how the conversation flows. So let's dive right into it.
Is that a good term to use if it's in a womb? Is that a baby?
I think most people would say fetus.
Probably
Yeah.
fetus. Yeah.
Okay, so what does fetus mean in Latin?
I think a fetus is a growing.
A fetus is a baby. We don't have to do this. I'll be honest. Anybody who goes like, "Oh, it's a fetus," is a baby. I don't want. You could use a different word. It's still a baby. I don't know what you're like. I think Charlie Kirk's about to ask. Like the definition of fetus is. I'll let them answer it.
Molly, you know it means little human.
Yeah.
It's just.
It means
using
little
fetus
human.
is
Like
nothing
fetus
more than
is.
cope for what you know it is. It's a baby, right? So it's just.
Obviously,
Yeah,
not
it
if
doesn't-
You're debating it. I don't think it's as settled
Well, then
as
what, you don't have to use
is.
the word fetus. It just makes people feel better. It's obviously a baby.
No, I mean, obviously you wouldn't
It's-
take like a fetus that just has like a.
A fetus is a baby. I see. I've had a point, and I want to keep this in mind that I am pro. I don't care. That's what I am. I'm pro. I don't care, because I'm not gonna pretend that I care about like every baby, every abortion. I don't. Ultimately, like if you want to have it, and I do think we need set rules, and I don't think we need to lie to ourselves. And lying to ourselves equals trying to make the fetus less than human, even though it is a baby. But
Heart and like their brain isn't fully formed and be like that's the same as like a 1-month-old.
Yeah.
Like we obviously
All-
see differences between development. From
right,
men and
all
women.
So,
all
but then how about
humans are
language?
different.
That's where it becomes a lot more contentious. But the point being is that we don't look at a fetus from its beginning stages and be like, yeah, that's the same thing as my like
I mean, we don't see all humans as equal. That's what I personally think. I don't think we all see all humans as equal in general. So
3-month-old
Well,
cousin.
hold on. That's a 9-month-old is not the same thing as a 1-month-old.
Okay, and
right? So you can go. The progression of development continues. The question is, when does it start?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. I agree with that.
So
Do you
wouldn't-
think conception?
Of course, that's the only answer.
Most.
I think
women,
conception
don't
as
believe
well.
Know that they're pregnant before 6 weeks.
But
So like
n-
around like the heartbeats
Yeah,
and
but
stuff
the,
like
the,
that.
knowl-
it's
the
impossible.
knowledge
don't
of
think
your
that
pregnancy
matters.
doesn't mean that you're not pregnant.
No. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. But I'm saying like practicality wise, there are many instances of women who have miscarriages without even ever knowing because it might just present.
it's
as, like, a very heavy
unfortunate,
cycle that
but
month.
still a
That's fine,
baby.
but it doesn't make it any less a life,
So,
right?
I
Sure,
have
go
a-
ahead, Molly.
See, I'm
But
right. I'm
do you
agreeing
see
with
more
Charlie right off
instances
the bat.
of
We're saying
more
the same
like
exact things, and I'm not even
Not the
like
same way.
pro
Not
life.
the same way. No, but it's still a tragedy. A miscarriage is a tragedy. But
So
an
do you
abortion,
Even if she doesn't know about it.
but an abortion is an act of human will. A miscarriage most times is not. Now sometimes it can
It's
be
an accident.
a miscarriage because you drank alcohol and you didn't know you're pregnant, or you might have taken a drug that had side effects. But yes,
I have a
a
question.
miscarriage is a tragedy. Yes.
I have a question. So, do you care about the children once they're born?
I mean, I care a lot about them. Yeah, I do.
So, so
This is a fair point. I always criticize conservatives too with regards to this, that you care so much about the abortion, but do you really care about what happens after they're born? Do you care about the adoption centers? Do you care about foster care? Do you care about kids living in poverty? Do you care about any of that? And I would argue they don't. I think on generally Republicans and conservatives who advocate so hard for pro-life, they don't care about the baby after it's born. That is my declaration, and if you get upset by it, by all means. But I'm curious on what it means for you to care, because people who care about pro-life will go so far to make laws put into place to prevent abortions. What do you do after? I'm curious about that point. Go ahead, tell me. Comment section.
if say a woman got R-worded or something, or even if she just got pregnant and
Grid One
kinda wanna
Motorsports
keep
donated $200.
Right?
Life is not subjective, and we know this because you were
Anyway.
speaking of killing.
Yeah, just-
Why is it so easy for you ladies to kill kids? If your
No,
comfort and
stop.
lifestyle more
That's-
important
that's
than
a-
life,
that's-
you
that-
create.
anyway, my question was, what was I saying? Oh,
You were saying if somebody was.
I hate but people put themselves on this weird moral standard with questions like this. It's crazy because I agree with Charlie that it is a fetus, but let's not pretend that the value of the fetus. I am not gonna go down this line of talking. If you want to talk to me about it, I have a whole podcast episode regarding abortion, and my opinions right now, because I'm gonna go on a huge tangent. I don't want to, But this is just trying to put yourself on a moral high ground that you have really no right to be on. Saying that these ladies were just trying to kill kids is nasty work, to be honest, because they're not. They're not trying to kill kids. That's just.
Yeah,
As
someone got,
someone
like,
forced
R-worded,
sex upon
or-
themselves is the
or
word you're.
even like not even just that, but say like if the mother like was homeless or something, say
Mm-hmm.
like she didn't have a good life, do you still think that child deserves to be brought into the world just to suffer?
Well, so it's not a guarantee of suffering. Number one.
What if they were?
The answer is yes. The life should be brought into the world. There are twice as many people on the adoption waiting list. Than
There's
some,
so many people.
Well, let me ask you guys. And I don't. I'm just curious. How many abortions do you think there are a year in America?
I have no
Tens of
idea.
thousands, I assume.
Any other guesses?
I have no clue.
What if I told you there was over 1 million abortions every year?
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
But you went from tens of thousands to 1 million.
I mean, there's billions of people on the
No.
on the
Yeah, there's
so-
340 million in America. That's right. No, but do you think this is
As far as like reported ones, because even just
that doesn't
reported
count-
data is going to be incomplete
that
because
doesn't count methylprednisolone, which is the chemical abortion that people get
Right.
at home. It doesn't count Plan B, right? So
and even if like abortion were illegal, for example, we stopped gathering data on like who procures abortions, there would be so many. There's so many now, even
Well,
with
not
states
true.
where it's still legal.
Texas, it's gone down
even-
dramatically. So hundreds of
No,
thousands.
they're still happening. It's
Well,
just
no, they're happening,
not
but
being accounted
about
for.
90%
Women are
abortion.
just doing it to themselves.
Right, it's a 90% abortion reduction rate in Texas. I don't want to dwell on that too much, though. So there's 1 million abortions every single year, and there's twice as many people on the there's 2 million people actively on the adoption waiting list. So there's really no such thing currently, there could be, but currently, of an unwanted child. So there's 2 million people wanting to adopt, and there's 1 million people that have abortions every single year. So there's twice as many people that want to get
How do I feel about that? How do I feel about that point that Charlie made? 2 million people on the adoption waiting list, 1 million abortions every year. Why is there 2 million people on a adoption waiting list? That is the biggest question I have. That is the biggest concern. Why is there 2 million people on an adoption waiting list? I'm actually kind of irritated by that number. That there's 2 million people waiting to adopt kids. I'm actually irritated. Because I feel like, and I don't have data to back me up here, I feel like there are still a lot of kids that need a home. That's what I feel like. So how is there 2 million people on an adoption waiting list? I've heard that the whole adoption process is extremely inefficient. So I don't know. So if there's 2 million, so if there are still kids who need to be adopted, but there's 2 million people on the adoption waiting list, isn't there a problem there? Shouldn't conservatives kind of figure out what the problem is and fix it so we can get these kids right to homes quicker? Like, shouldn't we figure that out? Because like that doesn't make sense to me, right? That doesn't make sense to me. Actually, I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna look up how many children are in foster care. 2023. It's 2024. It's only been a month. So there is 2 million people waiting to adopt, and there's 390,000 children in the foster care system. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? I don't see. That's why I'm so irritated, because I know there's kids waiting to get adopted. But if there's 2 million people in adoption waiting, why aren't they getting adopted? That's why I'm so irritated right now. I'm extremely irritated by this. So, yeah, I'm gonna let the conversation move forward.
Now, there's a longer conversation about making it less bureaucratic without allowing bad people to adopt kids for bad reasons. I'm perfectly
yeah,
open
fair.
for that conversation. But to answer your question, I don't love the premise. It's a really good question because a lot of people have it. I don't necessarily believe being born in poverty is a death sentence or is a reason to
Of
terminate.
course not.
No, but abortion is a death sentence. So I don't think poverty should give you a death sentence.
Would you say abortion is murder?
Oh, of course, 100%.
Do you think that people who procure abortions, women specifically,
Yes.
a woman who procures an abortion should go to jail for getting one?
Absolutely, yeah. They're the moral equivalent of Auschwitz.
Yeah, I don't agree to that. I don't agree to that. Yeah, that's pretty nasty work. But I mean, he's religious, so I guess. You know what I'm saying? I guess.
Really?
Yes.
I kinda wanna,
By the way,
Millions of women are,
No,
are
not the
basically
women.
the same as like Nazi
Not the women.
death
No,
camp
the
guards.
women are victims. They're lied to. 90% of women do not see an ultrasound before they have an abortion. They have no idea what's happened to them. They're the victims here. It is the abortionists that are doing this. But let me ask you, and I mean this, have you guys ever seen an abortion on a video?
Wait, no, I'm sorry. If women are the victims here, why should they be jailed?
Well, I don't believe they should be jailed. I
You
think
just said
the
they should be
abortionists.
jailed.
How is it that
the
you
abortionists,
could believe that
the
abortion is murder, but a
no,
murderer shouldn't go to
no,
jail?
I didn't say that. The doctors, the abortionists, the people that call themselves doctors, the people that put women under general anesthesia and go into.
But women do, they ask
They
for
are
it.
doctors. They're medical.
Are you going to just
my
discount the
current-
accountability of the
my
women in
current
that decision?
perspective is because the women are not given what is called informed consent, that the women should not be penalized. They should not be. They shouldn't be penalized. In fact,
Yeah,
they
I
should
don't
be
agree
embraced
to
in a
any of
system
this.
That has lied to them and has misled them. They are not given the full picture of exactly what's happening.
You're treating women like children. I don't mind people who think like all taking away of life is in theory murder. But my thing is, right? Are they consistent about it? I wonder what Charlie thinks about like self-defense, right? So, in a situation where you can defend yourself and the defense doesn't require you killing them, but you do kill them, should you go to jail? I wonder what he feels about like war in the military. I understand the aspect of like protecting yourself or killing for food, right? But in the situation where, let's say, I don't want to go down this line of questioning. I'm gonna let it go because I'm not really trying to come at Charlie or religious people regarding this. That's his point of view, but I don't think at all that this should ever be put into law. Personally, I do think that we should have standards, like thresholds of like, okay, at this point you shouldn't have an abortion. I say once the brain is formed, at that point is like, okay, no more abortion. I think that's after the first trimester. Is like, okay, after the first trimester, no more abortions is my threshold personally. I think you have plenty of time to make your decision at that point. But but like, I wouldn't go as so far as to if they pass the first trimester, should they go to jail? I don't know about all that. It's tough. It's a tough situation.
Happening to them. Informed consent has not happened, so these women are the victims.
My
The
question is-
abortionists, one second, the abortionists are the ones that know exactly what's happening. And if you haven't seen a video of an abortion, I'm not going to say anything too graphic. It is one of the hardest things to watch. The baby fights, the baby struggles, the baby dodges, the baby avoids, they break the neck of the baby, they euthanize it to the spring. It's not a joke. And then they tear it limb from limb through there. If you're trying to tell me that's,
That's like a
If you're talking
full-grown
about,
child.
yeah, like they're
Hold on,
called
no, no.
dilation and extraction abortions,
No.
then yes,
Hold
it
on
can
a
look like
second.
that. But if you're talking
a baby
about
has a backbone at 6 weeks and a spine. It has a complete figure. It's small. It's like probably as small
the
as.
size of like a grape, yeah.
Yes, but by 8 weeks or 12 weeks, and you're talking
But
about.
the vast majority of abortions are performed in the first trimester.
Yeah, that's right.
So when
And-
you
and
just
so when
the type of abortion that you described
trimester
is
was up to
literally
12
the
weeks.
like minority
Well,
of the
hold on a
time,
second.
and those are wanted pregnancies
said- you
because
said they
usually
don't-
those women want those pregnancies. They weren't able
They
to
don't
carry
know
them
they're
to term
pregnant till they're 6 weeks, to
because
your point.
they weren't able to carry those children to term because of health risks to their own life or to the infants.
Right. So, without getting into that, no infant should be terminated because of health risk to the infant. Okay, that's insane. It's like you're going to kill the baby because the baby has health risks. That
Not
doesn't-
just health risks. These are let
me ask you.
these are medical.
Hold on. Down syndrome.
like
should we
stillbirths
abort
or
Down syndrome kids?
No.
Iceland has. They said if you have Down syndrome, you're done. So that's not a new phenomenon. They've gotten rid of Down syndrome. If you have a DNA test of Down syndrome.
I'm gonna have a podcast episode talking about eugenics. I think eventually, humanity is gonna be in a very interesting position moving forward, especially with technology and gene therapy that can really alter our DNA. At that point, I guess you allow them to live, but you don't allow them to live as they would be if you edit their genes instead of aborting a baby with Down syndrome. Very interesting. I wonder if they're gonna bring up, what do you think about mothers or babies that are being born at the risk of the mothers? That question obviously is pretty common. And then obviously incest babies, that is pretty common, kind of don't going down the line of the Down syndrome conversation. But if the baby would be born suffering, guaranteed suffering their entire life, like, is that truly living? Like, I understand. I understand that you can't guarantee, and life is life. I understand the point of view. I appreciate the point of view, to be honest. They care about life. They care about those aspects of life. I think for the most part, I think it's a faux pas. Personally, I don't think they truly care about life. I think they care about this talking point. Because I feel like, oh man, I'm gonna let it go. I don't want to go on tangents. I want to finish the video. I don't want to go on tangents. I want to finish the
They
video.
abort the kid. I
This
think
is
that's
probably a
really unusual.
podcast
Yeah, no, we
conversation
agree.
where I
I
could
think
go
there are
down this
frivolous reasons to
this
procure abortion,
huge.
but I don't believe that just because there are
Let me just
frivolous reasons
react to
get
what
that
they're
means it
saying.
should be outlawed.
But should murder be outlawed?
Yeah. But like you were saying,
I don't think
you-
they're
I-
the same.
Even though
You
you
think
believe
they're
that
the
those
same.
women have a hand in committing
I
the
don't
murder
think
and
they're the same.
infanticide,
They
basically,
don't-
of their own children, they
They
shouldn't go to
don't believe
jail.
that they have not been
There's-
given informed consent.
Do
They
you
don't
have
know
that
what's
opinion
happened
with
to them.
people who are addicted to drugs? Do you think only
I
drug dealers should go to jail, but not
Well,
people who actually try to buy drugs and
Well,
consume
it depends.
them?
It depends what drug it is. Depends the category, the class, the
Is there a single
repetition.
drug where you would say that somebody who is buying and consuming drugs that they are addicted to should not be going to jail, but only their drug dealer should be going to jail?
I mean, I think fentanyl and heroin potentially, but it's a completely separate issue because a lot of people know the informed consent of heroin and fentanyl. It's not like we have PSAs, we have billboards. Stop using fentanyl. Stop doing fentanyl. How many times have you heard that?
I
Have you
mean,
ever-
people
they have a
know-
chemical
Hold on a
dependency
second.
now that prevents them
Hold on
from
a
being
second.
able to make that
How
choice.
often have we ever had an honest conversation with women in this country saying that having abortion increases the chances for depression, anxiety, medication dependence?
So does having a kid.
Well, hold on.
Having children carries all of those
So-
same risks.
You think having children? You think having children?
No,
is,
don't mischaracterize me.
No, that's not true at
I'm
all.
not going to
When-
say that
women-
having a child necessarily gives you depression
Women who
or
have
any of
children-
that.
That's what
but
she
it can,
said.
it can
That's
come
right.
with it.
It
Like
can.
postpartum depression, for example, is
Is it
extremely common
it's
among young women.
temporary and short-lived, and obviously
Not always.
For some
Some-
people, last years.
So is the
that's
depression from
temporary
abortion?
and short-lived. That's not permanent.
You
Yeah,
think
but when you're
years
in that,
of living with
you're not-
postpartum depression can simply
Abortion
constitute a
can
temporary
Wait, so-
have these
issue?
effects.
Theoretically,
Doesn't guarantee
Grant,
these effects.
So you're saying because of potential postpartum depression or financial burdens, the moral answer is allow women to go in.
No, that was never
to
my
clinics.
argument. This had
Okay.
nothing to do with morality. This was a completely separate question. I'm only saying that I feel like you're trivializing and downplaying how serious conditions like postpartum depression can be when you want to write it off as
No,
like a
it's
temporary
obviously-
medical
it's obviously
issue
real.
when
It's-
it can be years-long battle,
Look,
especially if it's
having
left
children is a
untreated.
serious choice. So what percentage of abortions, according to the Guttmacher Institute, are not rape, not incest, and not life of the mother? What percentage would you
Probably
say?
the vast majority.
97%. So
Yeah.
is abortion now birth control? Yes or no?
No, I don't think so.
I think
But-
that's situational to each and every
Molly, do you think that birth control, it could be called birth control in certain
Because
situations?
you're talking about over 1 million abortions, but there's tens of millions of women that are on birth control that are that have IUDs that take birth control pills. So obviously, that's not the only reason why.
But it's a
Or
form of
that's-
birth control, is
It's
it
a
not?
form of birth
Because
control,
they're
sure,
not-
but
they're-
it's,
all
you
the countries
acknowledge that it's not
acknowledge
the predominant form of birth control.
Well, no, I didn't say that. Hold on, I said it's birth control.
Yeah, but we're not disagreeing with the category.
Hold on.
I'm talking
So
about the
therefore,
prevalency
if
of
it's
it.
birth control, then why would we allow it to continue if it's not? If you put the rape, incest, life of the mother, which we can debate.
I
which
didn't,
But no, I'm going to put that aside for a second. Then why should we allow a horrific procedure to continue that has such heavy and dire consequences and results in a child not being able to live outside of the womb?
Because that's
You're
somebody's
loading it
choice.
so much by
Horrific.
saying a
Okay.
horrific
Subjective.
procedure.
Hold on,
Most
so-
women,
Yeah,
with
you're
severe
kind of
abortions
loading
actually
a little
report
bit.
being happy. Long-term
I would say the feelings of the mother afterwards is kind of irrelevant to the conversation. I'm being completely honest. I think the focus of the conversation has to be the value of the life itself, right? That has to be the conversation. If you think it's the life versus if you don't think it's the life. If you think it's the life and what that value means in terms of that type of life dying in that situation, what does that necessarily mean? Because there are times where ending a life is humane and not illegal. I mean, there's countless examples of that in our current society, right? So what exactly is the consequence? What exactly does that mean? I mean, for the most part, when it comes down to it in the situation, the feelings. Okay, again, I don't want to go down these line of questionings right now. I'm gonna put it like this: the feelings of the mother is technically irrelevant to the conversation. So Charlie constantly bringing up the mother's potentiality of being depressed doesn't really mean anything because there's also that same type of potentiality of being happy, especially considering you don't have to raise a kid and you're not ready for a kid, and if it's an accidental pregnancy in the first place. Not that you wanted the kid to die, but you're just not ready in that moment. And when you are ready, obviously, that will be a totally different conversation. So
because they
Yeah,
made
we
the choice
move.
because there's many different reasons why women get abortion. Some women aren't in a financial position to have a child at that time and actually decide to
how'd
have
they-
children
wh-
later.
How'd they get pregnant?
What do you mean? They had sex unprotected
So
or
they,
an accident.
So they want the orgasm without the responsibility.
Do you think the majority of women are having orgasms in sex? Are you serious? Have you seen the studies on orgasm gaps between men and
I'll
women?
be honest.
That's irrelevant, and that is mean to all the men that are trying very, very, very hard to do their jobs. So mean.
So they want all the pleasure. They want all, but it's you want all the loose lifestyle, but none of the responsibilities.
Now you're framing it like the punishment for having it should,
Hold
like
on, it's a
orgasm should be
punishment?
punished.
Wait.
No, the way that you're framing it, which
No,
is
it's
that
not a punishment.
you
It's
want
called
the
a cost.
loosey goosey parts of sex
Hold
like
on.
the orgasm,
if
but
you-
you don't want the responsibility of a child. It's like some people want to be able to have sex.
Okay, no, you
and,
articulate it
not have
perfectly.
kids.
I'm going to be able to have sex how I want, and if I have to go put a dagger through, I'll have someone put a dagger through a child for me, then so be it.
That's a weird way to frame it. I'll be honest, Charlie. You're acting very emotional in the situation, which is, I guess, fair if you think it's the life, or you're just playing politics. I really don't know when it comes to these Republicans, to be honest, because I don't know if they truly care about this or they are just making a political point because it's embedded into their being. To be honest, I don't know. I don't really know, but yeah, we'll move.
Sure, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that you're being morally clear, and basically it's my body. I can do whatever I want with it.
Let's
even
speed
though-
up this
let me ask you a
video.
question.
Even though, like I said,
If
most women
it's-
don't regret their abortions at all. Like the vast majority of women say report happiness
Yeah,
and being okay with their decision.
I
I'm
find
sure you think that they're
hard to
lying. Or
I don't
And
care.
why is it your choice?
It is.
No,
because
it's the
Your
baby
child
has
has
its
to
own
carry the
DNA.
child to
It's already in your
gestation.
partner's DNA, and then it forms into
It has its own unique DNA that's not yours.
Here, it's part of your DNA. It's
this is
50-50.
my
It's half. Oh, so should the man then be able
Hold
to
on.
have veto power over abortion?
Well, the point is the man isn't the one incubating the child. So
But I thought what if it's about
Like,
DNA?
If you
but
get
I never made the DNA argument. You did. The argument that I was going to make was, or I was going to ask you the question: do you think another person has a right to your life and your body?
Does another person have a right to? Well, technically, because abortion was legal when I was in utero, someone did have a right to my life and body.
Okay.
And my mom chose life. Praise God. So did all your moms.
Yeah.
My mom
The
actually wanted an
argument.
abortion.
Are you glad that she didn't have an abortion?
No.
Again, this is some weird moral argument that doesn't serve any purpose, to be honest. Yes, we're all alive. People live, people die. Doesn't okay. All right. So
So you would rather be dead?
I don't know. I mean, like,
this
And I'd like
this
to give you
is
an
not.
opportunity to speak. Then I think you had more Pixie than Molly. Go ahead.
It was just backtrack just on what he was saying
Go
on
for it.
not wanting to have the responsibility. I think that's really, I don't really think that makes sense because I don't think sex is just for reproduction. It's just like asking you, like every time, I'm not trying to bring in your wife, but every time you have sex with your wife, it's purely for reproduction. I feel like that is very inaccurate. So, I mean, it's hard to expect everyone who isn't in a marriage to just not have sex just because they don't want to get pregnant or just because they don't want to have that responsibility.
That's a very fair
did you even
point.
make the argument that sex is purely
No,
for?
I didn't.
don't think you did.
But Angel's making a good point, and I want to give her credit for this. What she's saying, and it could be misunderstood that I was saying sex is strictly for reproduction. What I was saying is that everything in life has consequences and choices, right?
Correct,
And
yes.
at times,
course.
the mainstream predominant narrative is that sex comes with almost no downsides, and we're going to give you either the technology, the procedure, or whatever to try to limit those downsides. But the
course.
difference is that when my wife and I have sex, if she results to be pregnant, which she did, is that we live with that consequence, which happens to be a positive consequence, right? A huge blessing. Now, I understand what I'm saying is very, very radical and very unpopular, but the ideal
I'm curious though, Charlie. Do you use a condom, or do you always go on Raw? And if she's pregnant, she's pregnant. I doubt it. I think you use a condom. I think you say positive consequence, but if it was a positive consequence, then you wouldn't be using a condom. Again, I feel like Republicans make these talking points, but they're not true. And I think that's a very interesting point. Like, okay, why do you have sex if you're a Republican? Do you only have sex when you're married? Like, I feel like the one who really only lives that way is Shapiro. But does even Shapiro only have sex when it's time to have another baby? Or does he wear a condom at times? Because it is a situation to make love, and it feels really good, right? So, yeah.
should be far less people having premarital sex and trying to have sex within marital guidelines, or at the very least monogamous guidelines, okay? So that if there was to
I
be a
don't
pregnancy,
disagree.
that baby could be loved and cared for and brought into this world. I understand it's a hard ideal to even grasp and comprehend in a world where everything is very sex positive and sex abundant, but it's an ideal that I defend nonetheless.
I mean, I don't think there's anything that's in contradiction.
I wonder if, I'm curious for y'all, would you be willing for men, actually that'd be terrible, but more men to be I'm not even gonna put that. I'm not gonna put that. I'm not gonna put that into the air. I don't think it's a good idea at all, to be honest.
I would just say to those women and those people having sex that you should be using birth control and family planning methods to make sure that you don't have any unexpected pregnancies that you don't want to have. To skip the abortion part altogether. I don't think anybody loves their abortion. I only said that people just don't regret them.
Are you guys familiar with what's happening with the chemical abortion craze that's going on right now?
The pill that
No, not the pill. That's different. I'm talking about where they're mailing chemical abortion packets.
Oh yeah.
Where women are bleeding out and emergency room visits are up nearly 300%. No, you guys should look into it. It's a very serious thing.
But
and
why is that?
Because
it's
abortion,
harder
I'm about to say it's because women don't have access to safe abortion, so they start resorting to these sorts
there's
of
no
methods
such
that are
thing as
way
a safe
dangerous.
abortion. Let me be honest.
Really? You
But
said
it's
that
safer when it's
there were
legal.
millions of women that got an abortion, but you're going to say that none of them were,
And
all of them died after?
All the babies did.
But did the women? Is it safe? Is it
Charlie,
unsafe
stop
for a
playing
woman
these
to procure an
weird. I
abortion?
mean,
But it doesn't. Hold on.
Answer that question. Is it unsafe for a woman
every
to
single
procure an abortion?
I understand, but
You know
it's not unsafe,
these
that's why
weird
I'm
games
saying.
don't
Let
mean
him
that.
answer.
Every single abortion has a victim necessarily, and many times has a woman full of regret that we are now seeing. And I'm not going to make up numbers out of nowhere, but there is a growing community of abortion regret, including people
There's
that are speaking
of
out and
course.
saying, "I wish I wouldn't have," and it resulted in either difficulty to have.
Yeah, people make mistakes. Okay, let's move on. This doesn't mean anything to me, to be honest. Like, what's the end goal? I feel like people should start having conversations with like, okay, this is what I'm saying. What is the meaning behind what I'm saying? Is Charlie trying to convince everybody here to not have an abortion ever again? More than likely, right? That's unrealistic, but more than likely. Okay, so what exactly does he want? He wants all the abortionists to go to jail. That's what he wants. He wants to completely change society on its head. That's something.
Children in the future or
But
mental
why do
trauma.
you care about their life?
That's a good question.
Or what about the moms
That's a good
like our
question.
mother who I
So-
wish I actually had an abortion because that wasn't the life path that I wanted to go down, but it was one that I chose to make. Do you care
I'm
about
sorry.
those?
I care about all people. So why do
But
I
do you
care?
care about that specific opinion?
I'm
Somebody who
sorry.
regrets not getting an abortion.
Regrets not. No, I don't regret that mothers wanted to murder
But do
their
you
kid.
care about the opinions of moms who actually say, I have a child, but I'm not happy with having a family. I
But why
actually
don't
wish I had gotten an abortion. Do
why-
you think that
Why don't they just
opinion-
kill their kid then?
I don't think that it necessarily follows that if you regret not getting an abortion that you're going to commit murder.
Charlie, stop. Like, I get you think they're all equal. They don't think they're all equal. I don't think they're all equal. Like the death of a baby that is a fetus, the abortion of a baby that's a fetus is not the same as a baby outside the womb. Not at all. So,
Sure.
But it's,
about
the same, but it's the same thing. Yeah, just put your
What
kid up
about
for
What
adoption.
about adoption?
If you regret it so
So you're
bad, just give it.
13-year-old. I
Yeah,
don't think most people at that point, they're not going to
hold
put
on,
their
you
kid
could
up
drop
for
it.
adoption.
Why not? You
You
regret
could-
it.
No, I'm not saying anything stopping them. I'm saying most
Yeah,
people
drop
are
your
not
kid
going
off
to
at
do
the
that.
foster kid
But
system.
if you ask them, like, would you have rather had an abortion or a family? Some of them might say, yeah, actually, having a family and raising a child is very hard. I actually
So
wish I had an abortion.
I
not
don't
started a
doubt
family.
that opinion might be
Not
held.
everybody is fit to be a parent.
But let me just answer your question really quick. Why do
Also
I care?
fair.
If you cannot get the life question right, then you get every other question wrong. When does life begin? And I care about the innocent. I don't like bullies. I don't like evil. And I believe it is an act of evil to destroy those that can't defend themselves, including the 1 million babies in
Are you pro
in utero.
contraception? Are you pro women?
Personally, or I'm agnostic on the question politically, meaning it's legal, so be it.
Okay.
But I wouldn't consider it to be a good lifestyle choice,
You
including most specifically hormonal birth control. Now, mind you, I'm over my skis on this being a man, but I will yield to the growing community of women on both sides of the political aisle that are ditching their hormonal birth control because they say, I don't like the way it makes me feel. There has
Or
been,
they want an IUD, which is a non-hormonal
one
form of birth
second,
control.
but there is a growing body of literature by Dr. Daniel Amen and many other people that show that the pill increases anxiety and depression and certain types of ideation. So again, I am not going to act like an expert on that, but that's a legit community online of people that are ditching hormonal birth control.
I think the way that you're like phrasing things of like, oh no, like murdering the babies is quite interesting because I don't think in like any other example.
Yeah, I've
where
heard
we
a
have
lot of
person
birth
and their
control
life
is
somehow
ruining,
connected to someone
women's
else,
bodies.
They decide like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I don't want to give my kidney to this person. I don't want to continue this blood transfusion. I don't want to continue this process. We wouldn't go and point at them and be like, you're a murderer. So I just think that there is a distinction to be made here when you're saying like, oh no, they're murdering babies by just deciding that like, hey, actually, I don't want this like fetus to continue using my lungs, my blood, my organs to continue developing. Like, would you call somebody who doesn't want to have like give a blood transfusion or give a kidney or something
No,
like
that's
that?
a good question.
Murder?
That's actually a good faith question. So if I had the specific type of blood type, okay, and in a hypothetical desert island, there happened to be a medical facility, and somebody right there needed a blood transfusion, and I said no, I would be complicit in their death. Yes.
Okay.
I'm
do you
saying
think-
that is the extrapolation of the hypothetical. you
So
articulated.
if what is it?
Complicit to the
wait,
point
let
that
me
you should
finish.
be punished if you refuse to render aid to that
Wait, Aaron,
person.
let
Let me
Pixie
finish.
finish.
Yeah,
Aaron, let
you
Pixie
can
finish.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, so if the government decided, hey, you know what, like let's say Joe Biden is put in the hospital and you're the only person for whatever reason in the world that can like give him a kidney and you have to basically give him like constant transfusions of blood for like the next year, would be a murder if you decided not to do that.
Well, first I would do it, even though I can't stand Joe Biden. So, yeah, just for the record. And if it was only for 9 months, yeah, I'd do it.
And if
'Cause-
you
hold
didn't
on.
do it, do you think you should be punished with jail time or
It
worse?
depends the type.
I respect this like nice personality. I expect this caring of humanity, but Republicans truly don't show this same level of care to Democrats. I'll be honest, and I'm moderate. The problem here is it's disingenuous. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like you truly care about people. Like there are people who actually like really care about people on a genuine heart-to-heart level, and they keep that consistent all the way through. When I see Republicans, and I'm not even saying this is Charlie Kirk in particular, I'm just saying this in general. When I see Republicans go on and on how much they care about the life, the baby, and all that stuff, but they are so visceral against Democrats, against lefties, against the LGBTQ, it makes me feel that this is an act. This is playing politics. Because I don't pretend. I don't lie to you. I'll never lie to you. I do not care about everybody like that. I'm not an emotional person. I just do things that I feel like is the best course of action for society as a whole. Like that's the reason why I created my podcast, because I think certain conversations are very important. The value. I am not an emotional person, but I think this is just the best thing for society in a whole in terms of bridging these conversations, having solutions rather than this chaotic back and forth that doesn't serve any purpose. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not going to pretend to you, nor am I going to lie to you, but I feel like I hear it, and technically this is not the Republicans either, because there's people who are leftists that try to make it seem like, oh yeah, we're equal for everybody, we care about everybody, but white men, they suck. Like, the consistency is not there. It seems disingenuous. I'm gonna let this finish up.
Type of informed consent that goes alongside of it, which goes back to why I believe women are lied to and women are victims in the abortion process. And yes, there are exceptions where women really know what's happening.
I was gonna say, even
Very, very rare. However, I don't think the law should go towards women. I think they are. First of all, I just think that there should be grace and forgiveness, because a lot of women go to abortions in crisis. They feel overwhelmed. They feel as if the world is against them. The abortionists, let me be very clear, the people that call themselves medical doctors that know better, that actually do the very damaging graphic removal of the baby, those are the people that I think should be focused when it comes to law. To your point, though, if for 9 months I would have to live a tougher life for another human being to live, I would do that.
Wait, but it's
What
not
about-
just a wait. I want to be clear. Would, like what Erin was saying earlier, so do you think the government should be able to punish you for not doing that? Should you be able to go to jail, or should the government be able to send you to jail because you didn't want to give blood transfusions to Joe Biden for 9 months? Should the government have that ability?
It depends if I knew the totality, if there really were no other options. If I said, if all of a sudden in this theoretical stranded desert island, in this abstract thing, and I had all the informed consent, and Joe Biden was dying, and he said, help me out, bro, I need 9 months of your blood, and I said no, I would be, at the very least, third-degree murder, yes.
do you think that
in that stranded, because all of a sudden if I let him go and I say, no, I'm not going to give you my blood.
This line of reasoning doesn't make any sense to me. But that's all I got for this video. Interesting conversation. I don't really think it served any purpose. Honestly, there's a lot of parts about this that I was like, I mean, I guess, you know what I'm saying? I feel for Charlie. I respect his point of view. So with that said, hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Check out the podcast, Purple Political Breakdown. Y'all have a good one. Take care and peace.